Good evening and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. Every Friday I try to bring you an interesting lifestyle person or artist, and tonight I've got a real treat for you because I'm going to introduce you to Andrae Ennis. He's a dynamic host and vocalist who is known for entertaining crowds. Get this, with his velvety, smooth voice. He's been entertaining and providing magical music moments for over 2 decades. Andrae, welcome. How are you? Hello?
I'm well, Brian. I'm here. You got me?
I got you. So
there we go. I'm well. Thank you for having me.
2 decades of entertaining. How'd you get into it?
Well, great question. My mother's a singer, and my whole family sings pretty much and is involved in music in some form or fashion. So growing up from a very young age, music was always around the household. And every weekend, I had to go to church and during the week. And a part of the service is always singing. So that fascinated me as a young child. So my mother put me into the choir because she used to hear me humming and singing along. And she's like, oh, he got the bug. So we're going to let him start there. So that's where it started. It started with the church and Sing with Family.
What church and whereabouts?
Sure. Grew up in Toronto. So downtown Toronto is called Toronto East Seventh-day Adventist Church. Down on Coxwell and I want to say Coxwell and Bloor area.
And how old were you when you joined the choir?
I was 6 years of age when I joined it. The name of the choir was called the Jewels.
And were you a soprano at 6, or what were you?
Oh man, actually I was what they call a high alto. So I couldn't quite get the soprano notes, but definitely I went from soprano to tenor as I got older. The voice changes, and as you know, as guys, puberty hits in, and when that sets in, the voice starts to change. So now I'm a tenor.
Just for whatever reason, I was watching a eulogy at Whitney Houston's funeral by Kevin Costner. And both of them were in Baptist church choirs when they were teenagers. And Whitney Houston's obviously known for being that, but I thought it was interesting that her co-star in that movie, The Bodyguard, was similarly in a choir. And a lot of their experiences were very similar. And they had quite a lot of fun and really developed their singing voices and their love for music. So you think that the choir did that for you as well?
Absolutely. Not only that, it allowed me to become more sociable and got comfortable with being on stages. When you're singing every week and then practicing twice a week with 20 to 30 kids that are in your age group, and they're from different backgrounds and all walks of life, you kind of get used to being around people, different personalities. So I got introduced to that a lot early, which was amazing for me because I didn't know that I would have needed that later on in life for performing for, hundreds, thousands of people. Now it's very comfortable for me. So it kind of like gave me that lesson from that time until now. So
well, that's excellent. Really, and what type of performances are you doing now? And I understand that you were in Canadian Idol. Tell us about that.
Yeah, sure. Well, now I do R&B soul music. So anything from the Motown eras, and you've got the funk of the 70s, you've got the dance of the 80s, and even some of the 90s R&B music. I've got a plethora of music that's mixed up in there that I use for when I perform. Canadian Idol was a great stepping stone as well. So in season 2, a little over 50,000 kids went out for it. And I went out for it as well and ended up being a top 20 contestant. So I was on the voting side. So people were able to vote and all that. I didn't get enough votes to move on to the top 10, but nevertheless, from 50,000 to down to 20 and being on TV and being able to showcase what I do, it was an amazing experience.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to come back. We're going to take a break and come back more with Andrae in just a minute and hear more about what he's doing and how he's trying to have an impact. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour, Saga 960. We're chatting tonight with Andrae Ennis, a dynamic host and vocalist who grew up in the church choir. His mom was a singer, and then he got into performing, and then was in the top 20 of Canadian Idol seasons 2, and has performed for the Mississauga Arts Council, their Masquerade Ball as a host and a performer, and now he's entertaining, bringing magical musical moments to people for over 2 decades. What a fantastic description. Andrae, can you give us a little sample?
Yeah, sure. One of my favorites growing up that I used to hear on a record now has become a staple in terms of whenever I sing, and people love when I sing it. So, Mr. Al Green, I'm so in love with you. Whatever you want to do, ride with me. 'Cause you make me feel so brand new. One of my favorites, man.
It's one of my favorites too. I've got it on a music playlist for no question.
Absolutely.
So you got started with choir, and
Yes.
and then what was the next stage?
The next stage was in high school. I met up with a few guys who we then started an R&B group entitled 95C. And we had that group for about 4 or 5 years. Recorded lots of music, was scouted by Virgin Records and a whole bunch of other Universal companies in terms of music records, but it didn't pan out simply because one of the members, their mother didn't want them to sing that type of music anymore. They wanted to have them stay in the church music, so we had to end that group situation. So I continued as a solo act, and then the bug hit me in the city to say, you know what? It was actually crazy. Making music magic, the tagline that I use now for the event that I put on called Soul Sessions, that came to me in a dream. So that was my next move. So after being with the group, I then moved to having my own showcase. I wanted to provide a platform for a lot of the amazing local talent that we have, not only in the Mississauga area, but in terms of Toronto. We have a plethora of amazing talent. So I dreamed up this platform called Soul Sessions, where we celebrated 40 years of music in one night, had a band. I dreamt the whole thing, got up out of cold sweat, wrote it all down, called up a few friends of mine that I knew that were in marketing and others that can help me put together the vision. Sat down with it for about 6 months, mapped it out. This was in 2006. And in 2018, it's still going today.
Fantastic. Where does Soul Sessions take place?
Well, prior to the whole pandemic situation, Soul Sessions was taking place at the Revival Bar downtown in Toronto on College Street, just before Ossington there. An amazing venue, great sound. 400 to 500 people would come out. I did them 4 times a year, so every 2 months we gather in this spot and lift the roof off with some amazing music and people from all walks of life. I mean, music has no color, creed, nor it doesn't have any, it's an energy, which is why I call it Soul Session. So soul, meaning an energy, and a session is just a gathering of people.
COVID obviously has stopped that. How has it impacted you?
Sure. So the only thing that COVID has done is stop the gathering of people. So what we did, and my team, we got together and we said, how could we continue to still give people an outlet? Because as we all know, COVID allowed us all, no matter what we were doing, to slow down for a little bit. But at some point, you still need your fixes in terms of music, whether you play sports. Some people couldn't play sports for a while. So what we decided to do is use technology, and thank God for that. We're not living in the 80s or the 90s no more, where everything was a face-to-face situation or a phone call. Yep. We're now living in a digital age where you can actually see people and do things like what we're doing right now. So we decided to go with an online live concert. And what a lot of people do is they stream now anyway with movies. So you can stream the concert, and we actually have it in a concert venue. That was, of course, under the guidelines of COVID, making sure that we only had the number of 10 people there and between the band and so forth. So people would tune in, log in, put it up on their big screen, set up their dance floor in their living room, and dance along with us. And from now, they didn't have to get babysitters. They didn't have to go and dress up. They could just go right from their bedroom down to their couch into their living room and enjoy an amazing concert. So that's Fantastic. What I've done now. Yeah.
And once or more than once?
Oh, yeah. So I started in July because between March and July, when this whole COVID-19 thing hit, it affected everybody, of course. I had to slow down and kind of map out what I was going to do personally and also music-wise. So once I got back with the team and we had a discussion, it was a no-brainer for us to go live, so that way people can still get an outlet and look forward to that. Because I got a great audience that loves to get into music, and especially those type of music that is timeless, as I call them. And
No
so
question.
it was an amazing feeling to be able to do that and still provide that. So
Now, you said that you had taken some time away from music because of some depression. Was that it, or was there another time as well?
no, that was another time. So right around 2009, that's when that kicked in. So, you know, as a performer and as a creative, one of the things that we always do is we're always pouring out. We're always giving, always pouring out. And there's very little time, and that I've learned now to do, is to take care of yourself. You don't notice it, and these things are very, very serious. So for all my creatives out there, take time to make sure that you replenish your mind and yourself. I call it your confidence meter. And if your confidence meter is really high, everything is good. But at some point, even as a creative, it goes low. And sometimes you don't notice it. It can creep up on you. Take time to take breaks, meditate, exercise, eat well, all those things that your body needs in order for me to give a great performance. All those things need to be leveled out. And I wasn't leveling them, which caused the depression to happen. So I got with an amazing counselor, to be honest with you. I went for some therapy. That turned everything around. I was able to release what I was feeling, because it's important. And we're told as young, especially men sometimes, man up, that whole man up thing. And
Yep, man up for
crying is,
sure.
right, crying is not a good thing, or, hold your feelings inside. That's only for ladies type of thing. And the truth is, that's not the truth. We were told a lie. We're supposed to be able to be expressive, let out our thoughts, let out our feelings. And I was able to do that and bounce back and, get back to the person and even better than I was before. So it was a good almost 10 years of battling through that, to be honest with you.
10 years.
And so it was 2009 to 2018. So this is why I know I'm blessed, and God has a reason for me to get back to doing what I was doing. And music has always been a part of my life. It's like breathing, and being on stage, it's like breathing. So I was able to get back to that.
We're glad you're back. You said you've got some lessons that you've learned. What are the lessons that you've learned?
Yeah, so two major important lessons. One of them is your words become your world. Very, very important. So whatever you say, your mind interprets that as that's what it is. So if I get up in the morning and I say, I'm going to have a bad day today, I don't feel really good, chances are 100% of the time you're not going to feel good and you're going to have a bad day. With the reverse, if you feed your mind saying, I'm going to have a good day, things are going to be okay, and even when things go wrong, still stay the same thing, your mind now switches over to thinking of solution-based situations as opposed to thinking about, things that are not good and negative thoughts. So that's one lesson I learned, and I keep that with me to this day.
Your words become your world.
Your words become your world. Always remember that. It's very important.
Okay. What's the second one?
Second one is slow motion is better than no motion.
Slow motion is better than no motion. Okay.
I have
Explain.
that in my, so if you get an email from me, if you get any message from me, that's there. In life, it's better to take your time and practice and do little steps that will get you to your goal no matter what you're doing. Don't think of the end result, think of the journey, and think of the little things that are in between that matter in order for you to get to your end result. That's something that I learned a long time ago, and I apply that to everything that I do now. And that alone will allow you to accomplish literally anything you put your mind to.
It sounds like you've learned a lot in your career.
I have. The experiences that I've had, the experiences that I've had with my bandmates, the experiences that I've had with family, all of those lessons come together. And those two things are stay true no matter what. And I know I'm going to carry those all into, my older years. And they're really, really good lessons because they keep me balanced. And we're all trying to find balance in this life. So
no question. If we wanted to check out your music, how would we do that?
Absolutely. So you go to www.soulsessionsentertainment.com.
Soulsessionsentertainment.com.
You got it. You go there, you'll get all the music. You can see videos. I have the YouTube page of Sessions Music Canada. You can go there. It's all on the website. You can check out even the latest show that we did. We have video up from the live stream performances so people can rewatch that and that sort of thing and kind of get into the vibe and the energy of the music of those times of the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, which I refer to them as golden years.
Golden years. Well, actually, let me ask you a question, maybe
Sure.
a political question, if I could for a second. You had
Absolutely.
said that music, what doesn't know color or something like that, you said.
Yes.
And with R&B, I think I'd agree with you. But what about hip hop and rap? Does hip hop and rap see color?
No, same thing. So a lot of people don't realize that hip hop started with just literally 50 years ago. And hip hop started with somebody telling a story about their environment. So everything in hip hop that you hear, and some people embellish, of course, to make it more dramatic. It's no different than a movie. There's a lot of things that are just embellished. So hip hop does the exact same thing. The commonality that a lot of people find in hip hop and why it's it is the biggest genre in the world now, is because the stories, it's almost like country music. You could say something a certain way, but if you tell a story and paint a picture, people can understand it and relate to it. And it doesn't matter what color you are. It's, I relate to that pain or I relate to that situation. That's how hip hop started, and that's what it continues to be today. One big storytelling.
And do you do hip hop as well?
I don't. I do it in my show as an entertainment piece. I'm not the best hip hop artist. I can't think on the fly and freestyle and do all those things. I'm more of a singer. That's what I draw into. So I kind of stick in my lane. But I love listening. Love listening to, some of the greats of KRS-One and, Public Enemy and those guys who had good messages. Anything that has a good message in their music, I listen to.
Who's your inspiration?
I have a few of them, but in terms of right now, in terms of music, it was Al Green, Luther Vandross, and Marvin Gaye. Those three artists, in my mind, just have timeless music. Of course, I have a lot more favorites, but those are the ones that I've drawn to. Plus, my style of singing is like them. Because I've listened to them for so long, and when I was younger, I developed the certain tones and sounds that they have because I just found that it worked and it was just effective. And no matter where or what you're doing, you put on a Marvin Gaye record, you automatically feel better. You put on a Luther record, you automatically feel better. And the same thing with Al Green. You just automatically feel better.
I interviewed a couple of weeks ago a fascinating gentleman who launched the first, what he described as black music station in Toronto. I think it was called Flow 93 or something like that.
Yes.
And he said that in the 90s, you couldn't get black music played on commercial radio in Toronto. Can you get black music played? And what is black music? I presume hip hop, R&B, and rap?
Yes. Yeah, so it's so funny how the biggest genre of music in the world is categorized to a set of people. Yes, we created it, but we created it for everybody. But is it hard to get music on now? No. You don't need the radio, so to speak, to have your music out. Because of technology and because of the internet, you can literally put up a song like this. And you can create an audience and that sort of thing. So I don't say it's difficult to get your music out now. There's no excuse. If you're an artist, there's no excuse to get your music out. However, back then, there were very, very minimal ways of how to get music out to a large audience. Unless you were performing live and you had built an audience over a period of time, the radio is where you would go. In Canada, especially in the 90s, I don't think more than 10 or 12% of the music that was played, not even that amount, was R&B, hip hop, or in that genre. So it was very difficult. But now that's all changed.
Well, the internet has certainly changed things for everybody. Look at the way that we're doing our interview tonight. It's a brave new world. Well, it's just been a real joy listening to you, Andrae Ennis. I really appreciate it. And once again, that website is soulsessionsentertainment.com.
You got it. www.soulsessionsentertainment.com. You go there, you'll find all the information with regards to the music and me there.
Well, it's been a real pleasure chatting with you, and all the best. To say goodbye, can you sing another song for us?
Yeah, sure. Why don't we do a little Stevie here. I just called to say I love you. I just called to say how much I care. I just called to say I love you, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart.
Just excellent. That's Andrae Ennis, a dynamic host and vocalist who's been entertaining crowds and people across Toronto and Canada with his velvety smooth voice and entertaining and providing magical moments for over 2 decades. And you can get his music at www.soulsessionsentertainment.com. Thanks, Andres. Real pleasure meeting you.
Thanks, Brian. A pleasure meeting you too. You take care now.
You too. Thanks.
Cheers.
Well, that's our show for tonight. I'm on every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM, or you can stream me online at www.saga960am.ca, or you can get all my podcasts and videocasts after the fact on my website, briancrombie.com. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend.